ceremony soon after that. We're now joined by former Baylor wide receiver, Baylor radio sideline reporter Ricky Thompson, who is there all the time throughout the season, of course, right there on the sideline. Ricky, were you ever at a time during that game just waiting for Chandler Morris to make a mistake or Baylor force him into one?
Well, yeah, I guess that's a pretty good assessment. I thought particularly just for the kid to miss a wide open receiver, if nothing else, but he didn't do that. And I thought even beyond that, we were in a position 2 or 3 times to make plays on him in the backfield. I thought we had him down. One in particular, we were hanging all over him. He throws it up for grabs and the 20-yard first down on 3rd and 10. But give the kid credit. He played great. Threw for over 400 yards his first start. I thought he was the difference in the football game, really.
Ricky, do you worry about them letting – I mean, look, Oklahoma can beat you without somebody else beating you twice, but the emotion of that TCU game carrying over because they fell into the trap game?
No, Paul, really don't. I think that's a really different vibe you got in that ball game, and I think if anything, it may wake them up. I don't think there's any problem having this team ready to play Oklahoma. I think they will be. It was a terrible loss. We did not play that well. It's a game we should have won. We should be 8-1. I think they know all that. But I think in general, I think this is one that maybe might not affect the next week as much as you think. I just think that probably better to be playing Oklahoma than somebody that's not quite as good as they are after that game, because they know they had to get to work. They know they had to be ready to play. They know what Oklahoma has. They knew what kind of quarterback they played last week, maybe multiplied by 1.5 or 2 when they faced Caleb Williams this week. So I think it's just a indication. And part of what I go back to, remember the Oklahoma State game. That wasn't a game where you have just a tremendous game by a quarterback, but it was a game where we just didn't play very well and deserved to get beat. And then we come back and play, at the time, what was a West Virginia team that had just a week or 2 before had a chance to kick a field goal and beat Oklahoma, bad snap, and we come back and just dominate those guys. So not saying at all we dominate Oklahoma. I just don't think it's going to be an issue being ready to play those guys.
Your thoughts on Joey McGuire taking the head coaching job at Texas Tech? We talked to Mac Rhodes a little earlier. Dave Aranda will at some point soon make an announcement on an in-staff, move to fill that spot. But just your thoughts, Ricky, on Joey, his time at Baylor, and now, not quite midseason, but almost midseason, bailing for Lubbock.
Well, I tell you, if anything's changed, it's that December 20th signing day. That has changed the atmosphere in college football. I think that's part of why you're seeing these mid-season moves. It's part of why you're seeing a mid-season hire of a new head coach. Good for Joey McGuire. I'm happy for him. I think that's a great opportunity. Tough to lose a coach in mid-year. I don't think this is something that's going to be unusual going forward. I think it's going to be more common that teams do this with this type timing and hire coaches from other schools during the middle of the year. Great opportunity for Joey. Hate to lose him. I know the coaches here are upset about losing him, but at the same time, you can't blame a guy for going from an assistant head coach to a head coach at a Power 5 job. Anybody that would judge that decision or criticize him for taking that job, I think really doesn't understand college football.
We asked Mac Rhodes about the game in 3 weeks. Obviously, Baylor has to focus at Oklahoma. No question about that, but they do play Texas Tech in 3 weeks, and we have Joey McGuire, who joins us today at 5. I asked Mac about the protocol. Like, will he be in McLean Stadium? Will he be on that? Because we've heard that, Cumbie will be the interim coach, and that McGuire's duties he'll start after the season. But he's there, I'm sure, right now working on their next opponent, as he should be, because he's trying to also grade players on this roster. Your thoughts about what should that happen? Should he be on the sidelines in 3 weeks for Texas Tech? I don't know if he will be, but I'm asking you.
No, I don't think he should be. I really don't. I just think this is a situation where they should let Cumbie finish. They know who the new coach is. He should do everything he can outside of being on the field. I don't think that's a good decision. But I will say this. I'd be shocked if he's not involved in game planning for that game. Mm-hmm. Do you think he might know a little bit about Baylor schemes on both sides of the ball? Yeah, he sure does. And would be shocked if he's not involved in some game day prep for that. Remember going back to BYU, there were some situations there where both teams had to change signals, but because of the familiar status of coaches on both sides with the other staff. And you're obviously going to have that with Joey McGuire with Baylor's offensive and defensive schemes. And you'll obviously see some changes as far as signaling in plays. I think the way some of the defenses are called on the field, you'll have to make some changes. But I just know he's going to be involved in that. I can't see any way that he wouldn't be.
All right, Oklahoma, Caleb Williams, the challenge obviously he brings, in Kennedy Brooks and the receivers. At times they've kind of sputtered, but he's given them a spark, no question about it. It seems like it's a little bit different, although it's wide open. Your thoughts about Caleb Williams with what you've seen and watched him the last maybe 4 to 5 weeks?
Well, outstanding. The first game he started, I thought he was near flawless and really added a spark. Spencer Rattler was not a quarterback that would take off out of the pocket unless he just had to. I think Caleb Williams looks for a reason to bail out of there. And when you have that, as we saw last week, that takes away a lot of your inside pass rush, and then you worry about coming from the outside, that it's going to force him inside. We had quarterback draws last week. I thought that really hurt us. And a running quarterback, if you're 3rd and 5, 3rd and 10, and you make a good throw, receivers make a catch, you pick up the first down, that's huge. But when you've got a guy in trouble on 3rd and 10, he shakes loose and runs 11 yards for that first down. I just think it's just something different and crushing to a defense when you've got a quarterback that does that. Now, against Kansas, I didn't think he played all that well. I saw part of that game. Kansas was leading late in it. I think we're all shocked at that. But then he, steals the ball from his own running back and picks up a 4th down. The guy's just a gamer. He's a good ball player, and I think he's made Oklahoma a lot better on offense than they were before.
Ricky, what did you think of the way Gary Bohannon played on Saturday? I mean, outside of the turnovers, obviously both were quite costly, especially that last one. It ended the game. It ended the game with them, approaching a field goal attempt to win it. But just your thoughts overall on his play. Randa complimented him, and he talked about the pressure that he faced and some of the throws that he made. But what did you see? Well,
first of all, I've seen Gary play better. I think anybody would say that. He's had better games than that. I think he was a little stressed in the first half. He was forced out of the pocket and probably got out of there a little sooner than he should on a couple of occasions. And I think that was costly. The first interception, what are the odds of that, guys? There's really a pretty good throw that hits the guy in the back and bounces back to a TCU defender that's trailing the play that's really in a horrible position and just happens to be where the ball bounces. So I don't really blame Gary for that one. I thought the last one was a bad throw. You got to see that guy out there. You got to know where he is. He was directly in the line of between defender and quarterback. You've got to see him. Now, we can sit here and say that not being in the game all day long and say how easy it was when it's a split second. It's not that easy, but I think Gary will tell you, as anybody will, that was not a very good throw. But Gary did not play a bad game, did not play one of his best games, but still, remember this kid, we're 7-2. He's played 9 games, and he's been here for what now? This is his 4th year here. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of experience yet. So I think all considered, I still think Gary's played pretty well. He had that stretch with no interceptions. Now he's got 5 in the last 3. I think it's really important that this ball game, game number 10, that Gary goes out and plays well, and he's capable. The best thing about Gary Bohannon as a quarterback is the offensive guys like him. They play hard for him. They've got a lot of respect for him, and he plays hard for them. And those are things you can't coach.
Ricky, we have to go, but I want to bring this up. TCU stormed the field. It was an emotional week for them because of Patterson, so I get that. But having someone storm the field after beating Baylor, and then a Big 12 opponent, a rival in a way, has and moves and gets an assistant coach off the Baylor staff as their head coach. Things have changed quite a bit these last few years, huh?
Well, yeah, they have. You've got TCU was 3-5, is that right?
Yeah.
And they stormed the field after winning a game. They're 1-4 in the Big 12, but I think that shows you how important it is for them to beat Baylor, to beat a ranked team. I didn't enjoy that, but it is kind of a change for having somebody storm the field for beating Baylor. I think in that regard, it's impressive. And for somebody to come in and grab one of your coaches midseason, that says you've got a pretty good coaching staff. So while those things are negatives, and I didn't much enjoy walking off the field with all those TCU kids running by me last Saturday, I guess if you look at it in a positive regard, they thought it was a pretty big deal to beat Baylor. So I think that's a good thing. I do hope this. If we go out and beat Oklahoma, just stay in the stands, enjoy it, and act like maybe we've done it before, which we have.
Yep.
I'll take that any day.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Act like you've been there before. It's not like 2010 when they got to a postseason or a bowl game for the first time.
Well, and TCU's not doing that
years.
if Patterson's not fired that week. That played a big role.
Thank you, Ricky.
I agree with you, Ricky.
Thank you for your
Thanks,
time,
guys.
buddy. Appreciate it. All right, coming up next, Stephen F. Austin head coach Kobe Carthel. Sam Houston State's leaving their conference, which was a part of the Southland Conference with SFA and a huge rival, and we know they're moving up into the group of 5. What does that mean for SFA? Probably not, but they have 2 losses to Texas Tech in a very close game, and a game in which they absolutely hyperventilated late against Sam Houston State, the defending national title holders. We'll hear from Kobe Carthel. Joey McGuire a little bit after 5, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. 2021 Rams.